Alright, hey everyone. So for this video, we're going to go over the basics of zone running. First off, right away, if you look at the bottom of the screen, what you were looking at for those two bottom GIFs is an inside zone running play. One of the reasons why I'm doing this video is I hear all the time on Reddit is I hear about zone, but what does it look like? How can you tell when teams are running zone? So these two GIFs at the bottom are examples of what a inside zone run looks like. One from the shotgun, one from under center. So historically, football was running. The running game in football was organized by man blocking. You block at this guy, you're going to block this guy, and so on. Zone eliminates that whole process. Rather, instead of blocking a man, offensive linemen and blockers are going to block an area. That area, for most teams, it varies from team to team, but in general, it mostly consists of the area that is directly in front of you and into your play side gap. So if you look at the whiteboard here, I have these green lines up. These show the different zones each lineman has. If it was a zone right. So we're going to run zone right, for an example. So if we look here, the play side gap, which is the right gap, is going to be each lineman's responsibility as well as over them. So the left tackle is going to block anything that's in this zone. Right guard has this zone. Center has the zone over him, and so on. So you're responsible for blocking anyone that is in that zone. It doesn't matter who it is. So here it's pretty straightforward. We got a defensive end right here, linebacker, nose guard, linebacker, defensive end. Same thing down here. It's pretty laid out. Now, but what's going to happen is it doesn't mean you have to block that person throughout the entire play. One of the biggest things about zone is your linemen are taught not to chase defenders. It's a slower developing run. Linemen have to have patience, and it's also designed around double teams. So we've got the first principle down. What do you block? You block a zone. So now how do you block this? For inside zone, there's three types of zones. There's inside zone, outside zone, and then a third variation called wide zone. For this video, for the basics of zone, I'm just going to use inside zone as an example. So to block this, we're going to try and create as many double teams as possible. The idea is we're going to move the defensive line back, let the linebackers dictate their moves or dictate what they're going to do, and then the double teams will split up. So a lineman will come off the double team to pick up the linebackers. That is the reason why it's slow developing. It's patient and waiting for linebackers to clear your moves. There isn't even really a designated hole because the running back is doing the same thing. He's following the double teams. He's following the line, waiting to see what the linebackers are going to do, see how the block's set up, pick a hole, make a cut, and go. So it's not like if I call inside zone right, he has to run between the tackle or the guard. He'll read a guy. Usually, it's the first defensive lineman to the play side. So if it was zone right, it'd be this guy here and this one here. Or sometimes the nose guard in a shotgun set. So one other cool thing that zone is, the assignments are easy. As you said, you block a zone. Another reason why zone is easy for a lot of people, or why a lot of people like it, is because everyone does the same thing physically. Everyone's going to make the same first step, which is a play side step. So in a basic zone, everyone's just going to go like this, right off the snap. All right, just make an easy right step with a play side foot. But there are some variations. An important part of zone is the uncovered covered rule. Not everyone uses this rule, but it's very, very common. Uncovered and covered means where the nearest defender is and if they are over you or not. So a covered lineman is the nose guard over the center, the defensive end over the tackle, or in this case, this tackle over the guard. Any defensive lineman or first level defender on the line over you is covered. If you were uncovered, that means there is not a defensive lineman or a player on the line directly over you. So in this example, the two guards are uncovered. In this example, technically the center is uncovered. So if you apply those rules, again, I mentioned the play side step, but some teams will also teach a bucket step. So, which is a method I prefer, and I'll teach it that way. So if you're uncovered, you're going to take a bucket step, which is kind of a back play side step like that. And then you're going to step hard play side and help out your fellow offensive lineman to the play side. So again, we want to create as many double teams as possible. So if I'm covered, I step to the defender, I take the outside half. If I'm uncovered, I'm going to bucket step, play side, and take the inside half of the defensive lineman. So he takes the inside half, he takes the outside half. All right? And then what they're going to do is they are going to key the nearest linebacker. So remember, this guard is responsible, while he's double teaming, he's responsible for the zone, which is that linebacker. So he is going to keep his eyes on this linebacker, and so is the tackle. When you double team, you're typically taught to keep your eyes up on the nearest linebacker. So as the play progresses, they're going to watch these linebackers as they drive the line back, and then come off the double team depending on how these linebackers react. So we're moving the ball, and let's say this linebacker comes here, forward. This guard's going to come off the double team and pick him up. In this case, between the guard and the center, if this linebacker comes way over like this, obviously he's out of this guy's zone now. So that's fine. And that's fine. What he'll do is he'll overtake the guard, he'll overtake the nose guard, and the center will see it. Remember, the center's got his eyes on the backer too, and he'll come off. Down here on this example, same thing. Covered linemen are going to take their play side step, and then block. All right? So in this one, again, the center is uncovered, so he's going to take that bucket step, get play side, and they're going to split, these two linemen are going to split this tackle. And again, key this linebacker. Linebacker comes forward, center comes off. So how do you get to these linebackers? And again, it's a slow developing play. You'll also see these plays used a lot with run-pass options. So how do you avoid going downfield when you have to go get a linebacker? A technique most linemen are taught is called a waddle technique. If you watch these GIFs closely, watch the linemen who climb up to linebacker depth. You'll notice their stance is really low and their feet are really choppy. As a matter of fact, if you look at the bottom left one, watch for Oregon there, watch the tight end at the top of the screen. See how he's going really slow up to that linebacker? Watch it again. That's kind of exemplifies that waddle technique. It's low center of gravity, wide feet, short, choppy steps. This allows the linemen to keep their center of gravity low and to let the linebackers come to them, but still have that momentum and that power to hit them, get underneath, drive their pads up, and push them back. And again, inside zone is a vertical run play. We're trying to push the defense back, right, and hit between the tackles. Outside zone and stretch, or outside zone and wide zone are designed to hit a little wider. All right, so then for the running backs, so say we do shotgun here, under center here. The running back on the inside zone will typically attack the guard to the play side. Most teams teach the guard. Sometimes they'll teach inside the guard or outside the guard, but relatively same area. But then they'll read these blocks. Typically, they'll read the first down lineman or the nose guard. But he's also keeping his eyes wide. He's not just running straight through this hole. He's getting this ball. He's being patient. He's waiting for his cut to develop. So in this scenario, we have both linebackers coming in this gap. So what he would typically do is if he'll see this close, he'll pipe it over here. Whereas in here, he'd be keying this tackle. Normally, he would cut it back, and then he sees this lineman come up. So like, let's say this defensive lineman went wide out there like that. That tells the running back to cut inside of there. And now he's got to come off this block of the center like that. Typically, inside zone hits back a lot. It rarely goes all the way to the play side. Where I last coached, we actually taught inside zone, but we didn't tell the kids it was inside zone. We simply taught it as a cutback play. We set up the double teams and told the running back to cut back because that's how often inside zone cuts back. Now, look at the GIF at the top left of the screen. I put that on there because that's a really good example of what a good inside zone looks like. You can see all 5 linemen, watch the 2 double teams, and then climb. So on between the center and the right guard there, towards the left of your screen. They double team this tackle. The linebacker comes play side, so the right guard comes off the double team and picks him up. Watch their helmets too. Notice their helmets are up in the air. Their eyes are up. They're looking at the linebackers as they're double teaming. Now the backside combination block between the left guard and left tackle works the other way. And that one, the defensive lineman, the tackle gets a really good whack on that defensive lineman, pushes the defensive lineman across the face of the guard, and forces that linebacker to go backside. So you see the patience, they push him off, and then the right guard goes and picks up the linebacker. And the running back sees this too. The running back sees that tackle go down in front of his face, so he's got to cut it back. That's fine. The right tackle comes off, picks up the linebacker. The guy who makes the play on that is the read man. So that was a zone read. So he stayed wide. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see how he comes upfield off the snap and the quarterback hands off. And then finally, the right tackle, you see him taking almost like a pass set, taking out that defensive end or linebacker rushing upfield. The defensive player is number 44 there. Some offensive teams, especially when they don't use a tight end to the play side, on inside zone can have their tackle set up or pass set like that. That'll invite the defensive lineman upfield and out of the way of the play. All right? And then inside zone has a lot of variations in particular. So we kind of go over the basics of zone. Again, you block your zone, step play side, block whatever is there, create as many double teams as possible. But inside zone has a ton of variations, mostly because, as you saw in those first examples I had, there were only 5 blockers. You could do a lot with the other players on the field. We'll show something you see a lot. Let's put a tight end and a wing tight end in the game. Do it under front. So we got 7 defensive linemen, 7 blockers. We'll run inside zone to the right. Again, if we're covered, make that play side step and block. Now this one's a bit different because this lineman is technically covered, but remember we're trying to run play set to the right, not to the left. So might vary between teams and if this is considered covered or not. This outside shade. Typically it is still covered, but you're still going to make that play side step. All right, but this is the guy you're keying because he's technically in your zone. And then, again, you block play side. This left tackle doesn't have this. There's a defensive end here, but remember, running right. We're worried about this gap that tackle is responsible for. This player is not as big of a threat as this player. So I'm going to consider, while it could be covered or uncovered, depending, again, on the system you're in, I would rather take that bucket step and go double team here and leave him because I got to take care of this gap. So they double team. This guard's uncovered. He'll bucket step and go help out here. Or some teams will have him block back on the nose guard. Again, it varies. There's lots of ways to run inside zone. So now we're running what's called the split zone. If you play the video games, it's called split zone on there. You see this a lot in the NFL. How do you take care of this guy? The pull. Remember, zone is a big cutback play, so it almost works like a counter play. So, let's say he goes here. He goes here. So you can see that the double team's coming off and picking up the backers. Running back's attacking. He sees this close. He sees this close. And he cuts it back. So that's inside zone split or slice. It doesn't have to cut back. Again, if something opens up here, you can take it. Typically, you won't see him run outside the tackle, though. So he'll usually run through one of these bubbles. So that's the split. There's also league or ISO variations of zone as well. So one thing I notice a lot is a lot of people will say, especially today in football, that teams are running a lot of ISO, when in reality they're running inside zone with a lead back. Really, you could call it however you want. Some teams you could literally call it a zone run in ISO if you wanted to. It really doesn't matter. But let's do 4-3. So an insert or an ISO is when you're going to actually run zone 2 with a lead back going to the play side. So in this case, it would be an inside zone to the left. This would be a lead, my bad. Lead, not insert. So a lead. So if inside zone left, again, we're going to make our play side step. All right. Now, when you're running a lead or an ISO, you're going to leave the play side linebacker unblocked. Because again, we isolate the linebacker for the block for the fullback. All right. So there's that. So rather than having to worry about this guy, this allows all the rules to shift. Rather than having this linebacker, all the linemen can shift towards the backside. All right, so I'm going to double with the nose, double with this tackle. See, it allows them to be more conscious of the backside. So we can climb out to here and turn them out. All right. Again, it could still cut back, but we're adding this ISO element to it. And then another variation that you see a lot is an insert, which is where you stick your fullback in the backside of the play. All right, so now we're going to be running inside zone to the right. Let's do we'll do same front. All right, we step. So in this one, he could bucket step and double team, or he could be taught to go straight to the linebacker. Doesn't matter. There's, again, lots of ways to do it. Again, he could bucket step and up here, or depending on the rules, he could jump back here. But again, it's all about the zone. Where the double teams occur is up to the team. It's all about the zone, though. Everyone is responsible for the play side gap. So the center, while blocking over here on the backside nose guard, still has to block this gap. So if this backer comes forward, he's got to pick that up. So the insert part is typically if you're running zone right, this tackle would step right, but he doesn't. He's actually going to turn out on this defensive end, and he's going to insert. It's just like the ISO, but now we're going the other way. So we're running down here, and if the cutback occurs, it's almost like a backside ISO is another way to put it. All right. So that's inside zone. I'll do other videos for wide zone and outside zone. Just to summarize, again, for zone runs, you want double teams. You want double teams where you can get them. Everyone's responsible for their zone, which is typically over top of them or to their play side gap. Linemen, when they climb to linebackers, keep a low center of gravity and waddle up to the linebackers. We don't sprint to linebackers. You don't chase linebackers. If you chase linebackers, you'll vacate your zone and allow room for another defender to blitz or come through. All right? And then for outside zone and, again, wide zone, I'll do another video for that. Hope you enjoyed this video. Look forward to more.